Welcome back to day 27. Now, this topic is going to sound kind of crazy because it's non public, impactful public speaking. What do you mean by that? So, we've talked about it this entire time, especially on yesterday. How do you have a non public, impactful speaking experience? Well, I'd love to give you this whole new formula, but the reality is when we recognize that who you are in your personal time should be the same person you are in your public time. So while I want to say there's a whole different craft to non-public speaking, there really isn't. It's important to recognize that the exact same techniques used to inspire many people are also as impactful to inspire one person or a small group of individuals. Whether you're in an intimate conversation with your partner, your parent, a social circle of friends, a classroom of students, or many people, the same techniques apply. Now, let me just stop right here for a moment and say, so often I've seen speakers, and whenever I give you examples of speakers, I don't say it from a judgmental place. I have no judgment at all. I simply want to make a distinction from what we've seen, what we've witnessed, and who we choose to be. So many times I've seen speakers have this amazing sense of engagement on stage. You might have seen speakers have this amazing sense of engagement on stage, and as soon as they come off stage, there's this rigid robot. There's this clear wall between you and them. The intimacy just stopped instantly. I remember sitting in the audience in Toronto, Canada, and there was a speaker on stage that I really admired. And I couldn't believe I was literally going to be on stage, the same stage as this speaker. Like, oh my God, life is amazing. This person and I are on the same stage together. And my son was still small at the time. I was just starting my career. And I remember sitting in the front row, like maybe 5 people down from his family. And I'm looking up at him, I'm like, wow. And as he's talking about living this amazing life full of love, taking time out to celebrate and honor your family, giving your family everything they need, I happened to glance down and look at his children and look at his wife. And the look on their face, it mortified me. The look on their face wasn't a look that acknowledged that what was being said was what they were experiencing. And I believe that your lessons come in many different packages, in many different forms. And I believe that God, I call him God, you call him whatever you choose, was blessing me that day by giving me a lesson. My son Jelani was still small. And what I got in that moment was, it's important for you not just to speak powerfully when you're in front of 100 or 10 or 50 or 1,000 people. It's important for you to be impactful and enrolling and caring and loving when you're in a group of 1 or 2, so that the experience that people have of you really is the experience that you're giving off. That the experience that you give many, you also can give one. So I go back to what I shared with you yesterday or the day before. Seek first to understand. Seek first to understand what matters most to them. What do they consider a win? Engage in a dialogue, not a monologue. Even if they're not verbally speaking to you, give time to expand in your authenticity. Give time for people to be with you, not just around you. Now, let me just open that up a bit. There are times when people can be around you, but they're not with you. Your job as a master communicator, your job as a student of this work in this program is to move from having people be around you to really create the experience that they can be with you. Engage 2 or more of the techniques that I taught you, and all of a sudden people aren't around you anymore, they're with you. Increase your level of authenticity. Share a relatable valley. Don't just share a valley, share a relatable valley. Get people nodding, going, oh my God. I remember one of the best things that ever happened to me. It was early in my career. I was in my early 30s, and there was a gentleman, after I spoke, I shared 2 valleys in this message, and I was in a room where there's about 600 people, and I was one of 4 women, and probably one of 3 people of color. So the room was very different, primarily all men, right? And at the end, this gentleman walked up to me and said, I'm a 65-year-old white Jewish man. I'm a director in Hollywood, and I'm pretty sarcastic right about now in my life. You're my sister. I feel like we're twins. And I thought, wow, something happened in my valley, something happened in my transparency, something happened in seeking to understand, where this man, who we had so many differences, would come up to me and say that I'm his sister. So connection occurs when you take them to that place. You show them the conversation versus telling them the conversation. You create a safe environment for them to coexist with you. That alone, the concept of this particular class is, how do you inspire one? How do you have a non-public public message? Meaning, how do you have the same experience with one person that you would have with many? I know some people think that the techniques change considerably when you go from one to many, from 1 to 5 to 50 to 500. But in fact, the more you can keep the methodology the same, the more impactful you'll be. Ask for feedback. Ask for feedback if applicable. Let them know that their opinion matters. Do audience engagement. Stop and get eye contact. So your exercise today is the day that you announce the date of your live inspirational experience. I want you to invite your tribe to join you. Remember, I told you days ago, weeks ago, that you were going to do a live event. I gave you about 3 weeks to do it. So now we're just a little over a week out, maybe. So now we're closer to the event, right? Now I want you to invite even more people. So I said a minimum of 5 people. Now I want you to add 5 more people to the invitation list. Yeah, of course. If it doesn't make your knees knock, you're not playing big enough. Come on. So I want you to plan this live event. Now, you can do a live event online if you want to, but you have to invite a number of people. You got to market it. You got to make it something. You got to be willing to share an impactful message. And we're going to layer all the techniques that you learned in delivering your 30 to 55-minute message. Yes? So that's your self-work for today. Add 5 more people, invite more people, be prepared to do your live event, adding all these things, speaking to many as if you're speaking to one. And as always, I'm going to invite you to continue to do your mirror work and continue to practice the art of enrollment for the next several days. The tribe is looking. The tribe is cheering you on. Go you, go you, go you, go you. I'll see you tomorrow.